The unforgettable disappearance of Erin Wallace. Ticonderoga, New York, 2002. On a snowy March evening in 2002, 22-year-old Erin Wallace left her cousin's home just outside Ticonderoga, New York, and was never seen again. Her car was found still idling by the side of Route 74, the driver's door wide open, purse on the seat. Inside, warm coffee. Outside, a fresh dusting of snow. There were no footprints, no signs of a struggle, nothing but silence. Before we begin, I want to let you know that due to the limited visual materials and the age of this case, there isn't much existing footage or imagery to support the story you're about to hear. As a result, this episode will feature a single image background throughout. Think of this as more of an immersive audio experience, a storytelling session that lets your imagination fill in the gaps. Now's the perfect time to grab your headphones, maybe even some popcorn, and settle in. Ticonderoga, a small Adirondack town nestled between Lake George and Lake Champlain, is surrounded by forests, winding state routes, and a quiet sense of isolation that grows deeper in winter. With just over 5,000 residents, it's a place where a stranger is noticed and an absence is quickly felt. That's why Erin Wallace's vanishing struck such a chilling chord, and why, more than 2 decades later, it remains one of the most confounding unsolved disappearances in upstate New York. According to Ticonderoga Police Department Report 02-1731 New York, the last confirmed sighting of Erin was at approximately 8:45 p.m. on March 16, 2002. She had been visiting her cousin, Hannah Fraser, who lived near Wicker Street on the southern edge of town. The two spent the day quietly, watching movies, catching up, and talking about Erin's plans for summer. Hannah later told police she was calm, thoughtful, like she had a lot on her mind but didn't want to talk about it yet. Erin was a senior at SUNY Plattsburgh, majoring in environmental science. She was passionate about birding, forestry, and Appalachian folk music. Known for her quiet intelligence and deep sense of empathy, Erin was a grounded, punctual, and habit-driven individual. She had a fixed weekly schedule and a habit of writing everything down in a battered green notebook she carried everywhere. But those closest to her had started to notice subtle changes. Over the previous month, Erin had begun making unexpected solo drives across the Adirondacks, long routes she didn't explain, sometimes taking back roads to nowhere in particular. When her roommate in Plattsburgh asked why, Erin's response was vague. "Sometimes I just need to be alone in the quiet." No one suspected she was in danger. On the night she disappeared, a cold front had moved in quickly, dropping the temperature and coating the roads with a thin layer of snow. Erin left Hannah's home a little before 9 p.m., heading back to her apartment on Montcalm Street, less than a 15-minute drive. She said she was tired and wanted to get home early. She never arrived. At 9:12 p.m., a trucker named Walter Hensley, traveling eastbound toward Vermont, spotted a white 1996 Subaru Legacy idling on the narrow shoulder of Route 74 just outside of Eagle Lake. The driver's door was open, the dome light casting a glow into the falling snow. Concerned, he pulled over. Inside, there was no one. The engine was still running. A purse sat undisturbed on the front passenger seat. A cell phone, a flip model, common for the time, rested in the center console. In the cup holder, a coffee cup was still warm to the touch. A folded bird identification guide lay on the floorboard, a pen tucked into its spine. But there were no signs of a struggle. No blood, no destello de snow, and crucially, no footprints, not even Erin's. The snow hadn't been falling long. Light flakes, enough to gently dust the shoulders of the road, but not enough to fully conceal tracks. According to first responders, the area around the car was unbelievably pristine, as if no one had exited the vehicle at all. Ticonderoga police arrived on the scene at 9:34 p.m. A quick search of the immediate, which turned up nothing. By early morning, a coordinated search effort was underway, including forest rangers, K-9 units, and volunteers from surrounding counties. Searchers moved slowly and deliberately, checking tree lines, lake edges, abandoned structures, and every trailhead within a 10-mile radius. Still, no sign of Erin. The search continued for several days, growing in scale. Snowmobiles and search dogs combed dense pine forests, while rangers on horseback swept less accessible ridges. Helicopters were grounded due to low visibility from persistent snowfall. There were no footprints, torn clothing, or broken branches. Nothing to suggest where Erin might have gone. The dogs lost her scent just feet from her driver's side door. Her parents, Margaret and Lewis Wallace, arrived from nearby Scroon Lake the next morning and immediately contacted local media, pleading with anyone who had information to come forward. Margaret Wallace's emotional appeal aired on regional news stations, describing her daughter as sensitive, strong, and the kind of person who always checked in. Flyers bearing Erin's photo and vehicle description were posted in gas stations, grocery stores, and on telephone poles across Essex County and southern Vermont. Tips came in over following weeks, but none proved credible. On March 23rd, 1 week after she disappeared, the case was escalated and transferred to the New York State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigation under case file hashtag NYSB 02CR 4471. Detectives retraced her movements, interviewed every friend, roommate, professor, and relative. Hannah Fraser was cooperative throughout and was never considered a suspect. There was something she was holding on to, Hannah later told investigators. She was going to tell me that night. I could feel it, but she didn't. Investigators searched Erin's Plattsburgh apartment and reviewed her journals. They noted she had written cryptic entries in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Brief lines like, "I keep seeing that car again and need to make peace with it soon." Her internet history was sparse. There were no signs of threats, no romantic entanglements, no financial troubles. Cell phone records revealed a short call to her mother at 4:17 p.m. the day she vanished. A friendly check-in. No distress. Nothing unusual. There was no activity on her bank account after that date. Social media posts, no passport use, no driver's license renewals. Erin Wallace had simply vanished. In 2008, her DNA was entered into the National Missing and Unidentified Person System, NAMUS, profile hashtag MP7142, where it remains unmatched. Over the years, several unidentified remains across the Northeast have been compared against her profile. None was her. Theories, both mundane and sinister, persist. Some believe Erin stopped to help someone she thought was in distress and was taken. Others believe she was being followed, possibly by someone familiar with the region and her routines. A few hold on to the theory that she voluntarily disappeared, but this contradicts everything known about her habits, relationships, and demeanor in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Then there are the more obscure suggestions, that she was a victim of an opportunistic predator, or that her disappearance was somehow connected to an undocumented event, something neither random nor personal but deliberate and orchestrated. Regardless of theory, one fact remains chillingly clear. Erin Wallace was last seen at 8:45 p.m. on March 16, 2002. Her car was found less than 30 minutes later. No one saw or heard anything unusual in that window of time. There were no witnesses, no struggle, no trafe. To this day, the disappearance of Erin Wallace is considered an open investigation by the New York State Police. But as years have passed and leads have dried up, the trail has grown colder than the snow-dusted road where her car was found. Her green field notebook, still in evidence storage, is bookmarked with a quote she once wrote down from John Muir. "The mountains are calling and I must go." March 16th, 2002. A cold, overcast Saturday in upstate New York. The kind of day that settles in the bones and makes everything feel just a bit more distant. The snow had started earlier than forecasted. Light flurries had dusted the trees and roads like ash. For Erin Wallace, 22, it was supposed to be a quiet day. Familiar, uneventful, but sometime between 8:47 p.m. and 9:12 p.m., Erin disappeared. The final day, a minute-by-minute breakdown. 7:12 a.m., Erin is captured on a security camera at a Stewart Shop's convenience store in Plattsburgh, purchasing coffee, a banana, and a local newspaper. She's dressed in a tan parka, worn jeans, and hiking boots. She nods politely to the clerk and leaves. 9:40 a.m. She arrives in Ticonderoga, roughly 90 minutes south, at her cousin Hannah Fraser's home on Wicker Street. They spend the morning catching up. Hannah later told investigators Erin seemed thoughtful maybe a little distracted, but nothing alarming. 12:20 p.m. to 4 p.m. The two cousins watch movies and prepare lunch. Erin talks about applying for an internship with the Adirondack Council. She mentions taking more day drives lately, calling them mental breaks. Hannah notes Erin seemed hesitant to explain where she'd gone on those drives. 4:17 p.m., Erin calls her mother, Margaret Wallace, from her cell phone. Margaret later recalled it as an ordinary conversation. She sounded content, a little tired, but that wasn't unusual. Said she'd be heading home soon. 5:33 p.m. A neighbor of Hannah's, Peter Cargill, sees Erin walking alone in the yard, looking toward the woods. She stands still for several minutes before turning back toward the house. When asked later, he said it looked like she was listening to something. 7:18 p.m. Erin and Hannah finish dinner. Erin declines an offer to stay the night, saying she wants to wake up early and work on her paper. She mentions needing to stop for gas and coffee on the way. 8:44 p.m. Erin hugs her cousin goodbye, leaves the house, and begins a 15-minute drive to her apartment on Montcalm Street in central Ticonderoga. 8:47 p.m. This is the estimated time she pulls onto Route 74 heading east toward her apartment. The temperature is 28 degrees Fahrenheit and light snow is falling. No reported traffic. Her car, a white 1996 Subaru Legacy, is in good condition with snow tires. 9:12 p.m. Truck driver Walter Hensley notices a car idling with its lights on near Eagle Lake, just off a bend in Route 74. The driver's door is open. He pulls over and approaches, expecting a mechanical issue. Instead, he finds no one inside. Scene of the disappearance. Vehicle condition. When local police arrived at 9:34 p.m., the vehicle was still running. The driver's door was ajar, the dome light on, and the seatbelt unbuckled. Erin's purse was untouched on the front passenger seat. Her cell phone, with a full battery, was in the center console. The engine was warm. Her keys were still in the ignition. Notable items inside the car. A steaming cup of black coffee from the Ticonderoga Dunkin' Donuts. Time-stamped 8:52 p.m. A laminated birding field guide with a page marked, The Northern Shrike. Her green leather-bound notebook was closed and resting on the back seat. No signs of a struggle or forced entry. Nothing stolen. Weather conditions. Snow had begun falling again around 8:30 p.m. But it was still light when Erin would have exited her vehicle. Despite that, no footprints, neither leading to the road nor into the woods, were found near the car. This detail baffled investigators. Ticonderoga Police Chief Robert Lane said in the initial press conference, "In 20 years, I've never seen a disappearance like this. Not in this region. It's like she stepped out of her car and evaporated." The search begins. By early morning on March 17th, law enforcement from Essex County and the New York State Police had mobilized. Over 60 personnel combed the forest around Eagle Lake. K-9 units from Lake Placid and Scroon Lake were deployed. Snowmobiles swept the tree lines. The ice along the lake's edge was carefully broken to search underneath. Rangers used infrared imaging from a helicopter for heat signatures. Nothing was found. The dogs tracked Erin sent only as far as the driver's seat. It was as though she had never left the vehicle. No drag marks, no hair blood, or torn fabric. Nothing that could indicate foul play or voluntary flight. Media coverage. Local press picked up the story on March 17th. Albany and Burlington stations followed. By March 20th, her story reached regional news and triggered brief national mentions on CNN and CBS's Missing Persons Roundup. The thousands of printed flyers. Her parents pleaded publicly for help. Her father's words resonated with viewers. "If someone's holding her, just let her go. She's not a threat to anyone. She's just Erin." Initial theories and red herrings. Theory 1, voluntary disappearance. Investigators briefly explored the possibility that Erin walked away intentionally, but her wallet, ID, and phone were all left behind. There were no withdrawals from her bank accounts, no activity on her library card, and no online presence afterward. Erin had recently signed a lease renewal and registered for summer courses. Theory 2, staged abduction. The clean vehicle scene raised suspicions. Was the area sanitized? Was the door opened after the snowfall to conceal tracks? But if it was staged, by whom? And why would they leave the purse, phone, and car untouched? Theory 3. Opportunistic abduction. Some believed Erin may have stopped to help someone on the side of the road, or was flagged down by someone feigning car trouble. A man seen walking along Route 74 that evening became a person of interest. Red herring 1. The man in the camo jacket. On March 19th, a woman named Judith Clark reported seeing a man in a camo hunting jacket standing near a green pickup on a turnout half a mile from where Erin's car was found. She noted his odd behavior, standing still in the dark, seemingly watching traffic. Authorities canvassed the area, but found no trace of the vehicle. Surveillance footage from nearby gas stations yielded no matches. The lead was never substantiated. Red herring 2, the Bar Journal entry. 1 week later, a bartender at the Rusted Elk, a bar 40 miles west in Old Forge, reported seeing a woman matching Erin's description 2 nights after her disappearance. He said she was alone, drank water, and seemed spaced out. When shown photos, he hesitated but said it could have been her. Investigators found no supporting evidence. No surveillance footage confirmed the sighting, and no one else reported seeing her that night. The lead was filed but ultimately deemed inconclusive. Rumors in the community. As the weeks passed, the silence became heavier than the snow. People whisper about strange vehicles near trailheads, about the men Erin may have rejected, about a forest hermit who lives off Eagle Lake. One rumor even suggested she'd been followed by someone she'd unknowingly photographed on a birding trip. None of these leads led anywhere, but the lack of evidence only deepened the void. Unanswered questions. Why would Erin pull over on that stretch of road? There are no gas stations or lookouts nearby. Why no footprints? What was she looking at in the woods earlier that day? Who or what interrupted her journey in under 30 minutes? Erin Wallace's disappearance is still classified as an open case. Her DNA remains in federal databases. The Subaru remains in climate-controlled evidence storage. Every year, a small vigil is held near Eagle Lake. Her parents attend, sometimes joined by retired officers who still wonder what they missed. But no trace of her has ever been recovered. 23 years have passed since 22-year-old Erin Wallace vanished off a snow-covered highway near Eagle Lake. No remains, no witnesses, no definitive evidence, and no closure. Yet her disappearance continues to echo through the small towns of upstate New York, like a ghost story no one wants to believe, but few can forget. In this final installment, we examine 3 prevailing theories surrounding Erin Wallace's disappearance, sift through late developments that reopen long-closed wounds, and ultimately confront the most haunting truth of all, the silence, the psychological profile of Erin Wallace. To understand the mystery, investigators and amateur sleuths alike have long believed it essential to comprehend Erin Wallace herself. Described as observant to a fault, Erin was reserved, academically gifted, and attuned to the subtleties of human behavior. She wasn't known for impulsivity. She wasn't involved in drugs. She had a strong relationship with her family, especially her mother. According to her journals, Erin found solace in nature and increasingly in solitude. But there were undertones of something more profound. One undated entry reads, "It feels like I'm being watched, but not in the usual way. It's not threatening, just present." She frequently wrote about the woods, sometimes in detail, sometimes with unease. They don't feel empty, not anymore. These entries, while not alarming at the TI, have become the foundation for many speculative theories. Some see them as foreshadowing. Others view the writings as metaphors, reflecting a brilliant but emotionally burdened young woman. But to this day, no professional has conclusively diagnosed her with any mental health condition. Her academic records, therapy logs voluntarily released by her family, and correspondence suggest a woman who was reflective, sensitive, and perhaps carrying a secret, but not unstable. 3 primary theories. Theory 1, the calculated abduction. This remains a leading theory among law enforcement. Why it's plausible. The circumstances of Erin's disappearance. An idling car, engine running, door ajar, no signs of struggle. suggest precision. Forensics teams found no signs of panic, no defensive wounds, no disorder in the vehicle. Several investigators believe Erin was lured from her vehicle by someone she knew or at least trusted. A false emergency, a stage breakdown, possibly someone with experience in law enforcement or the outdoors. One of the more disturbing aspects of the case is the total lack of physical evidence, especially given the snow. According to the Essex County Search and Rescue Coordinator, the absence of footprints suggested either that she never stepped out under her power or that the area had been tampered with after her disappearance. The notion of a well-planned abduction by someone who would watch her patterns, someone who knew she often drove alone on quiet rural roads, is supported by entries in her notebook and testimonies from friends. One ex-classmate told police, Erin once said she felt someone had followed her home after a hike near Eagle Lake. She didn't elaborate. It was weird. I remember it clearly because she brushed it off, but her eyes said otherwise. To date, no suspects have been arrested. Multiple persons of interest were questioned, including a former ranger who was fired in 1999 for stalking a park and turn, but no link to Erin was ever confirmed. Theory 2, voluntary disappearance. Although less popular, some believe Erin orchestrated her vanishing. Why it's plausible. Erin had recently begun journaling obsessively. Her writings hinted at dissatisfaction with the pace of modern life and longing for something less synthetic. She took long solo drives without informing anyone and had recently borrowed several books on survivalism and self-sufficiency from the Ticonderoga Public Library. More significantly, a park ranger discovered what he called a crude but well-camouflaged lean-to roughly 3.2 miles from where her car was found. Inside were remnants of canned food, bird bones, and a damp copy of Thoreau's Walden. However, DNA testing yielded inconclusive results due to contamination from exposure. Skeptics of this theory cite Erin's tight-knit family and recent internship application as signs she had no reason to leave. Her accounts showed no plans of a permanent departure. And most critically, she left behind her wallet, phone, and winter gear. Psychological autopsy expert Dr. Lacey Jewell, who consulted the case in 2008, remarked, if she chose to disappear, she did it with military-level precision, in sub-zero temperatures, with no preparation detectable. That stretches plausibility. Still, some say she simply vanished on purpose, that the silence was her final act. Theory 3, something else entirely. A theory not endorsed by officials but gaining traction among internet circles is that Erin's disappearance defies logical explanation. Why it's whispered, there's no sign of a crime, no definitive evidence of flight. Nobody, no leads, just absence. The area surrounding Eagle Lake, particularly a stretch of trail known locally as Davenport Hollow, has a history of strange occurrences dating back decades. In 1974, a 38-year-old hunter named Alan Shank went missing within a half-mile radius of where Erin vanished. His bow and jacket were found hanging neatly over a low branch. He never recovered. Local legend speaks of a thin place in those woods, where the veil between worlds is less reliable. While purely folklore, such stories have fed online speculation that Erin may have encountered something otherworldly. This theory was further fueled when a hiker in 2013 reported hearing a woman calling for help near the lake trail 3 times. Each time, he turned and found no one. His phone malfunctioned until he left the area. A paranormal research group even investigated the region in 2015. They found no evidence, but recorded a high-frequency anomaly near the trail that has never been explained. While such theories fall outside traditional investigation, their absence only amplifies them. Unresolved leads and developments. 2006, the anonymous letter. For years after the disappearance, the Wallace family received a letter, postmarked from Burlington, Vermont. No return address. The message inside read only, "She didn't go far. She's still under the pine." FBI handwriting analysts deemed the note authentic in terms of content, meaning it wasn't part of a hoax trend, but the lack of identifying markers rendered it useless as evidence. Multiple pine groves were searched. Nothing found. 2013, the dormant phone ping. In September 2013, a technician upgrading cell towers discovered a brief ping from Erin's long-deactivated phone. The signal lasted only seconds and came from the vicinity of Putnam, New York, 12 miles from where her car was abandoned. Authorities were skeptical, citing equipment error. The phone had been turned over to police in 2002 and remained in storage. Still, the event reignited interest in the case. For weeks, searchers returned to the woods. Once again, nothing was left behind. Erin Wallace's room remains untouched, according to her mother. Her calendar still hangs from March 2002. A ticket stub to a concert she never attended is tucked inside her bookshelf. Her Subaru has been moved into long-term evidence storage in Albany, its odometer froze in time. The coffee cup, still in its holder, mold long since overtaken the liquid inside. Each year on March 16th, a small group gathers at Eagle Lake. Locals, retired officers, family. The lake remains cold, silent. The trailheads wind deep into the woods, and the questions remain. The lingering unknown. Erin Wallace didn't simply vanish from a bustling city or in the chaos of war. She disappeared from a quiet, snow-dusted highway in a town where everyone knows each other's names. A city that still whispers when a lake fog rolls in too thick or a bird cries out after dusk. No suspects, no physical evidence, no definitive conclusion, just fragments, a field guide, a journal entry, a pine-covered silence. What do you think happened to Erin Wallace? Was it a tragic accident or something far more sinister? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for more content relating to horrors and missing cases.